When hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, whenever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Welcome, foolish mortals, to Mustang Prince Oral Reports. I am your host, Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince. So, as you can tell by that mysterious monologue earlier, tonight we're going to the happiest place on earth to talk about Walt Disney's classic ride from 1969, the Haunted Mansion. If you may recall, back in mid-2021, before Disneyland Resort reopened after a long COVID-19 closure, I made a countdown of 15 of my favorite attractions, with the mansion sharing the number 11 spot with Pirates of the Caribbean. And like I said during that video, this is a classic ride. While it was sad that Walt Disney passed away before it could be completed, I like that the mansion was inspired by the Winchester Mystery Mansion in San Jose, the Shipley Lydecker House in Baltimore City, and a little bit of the Adventures Through Inner Space ride. Also, I liked the attraction's use of audio animatronics, shadow effects, projection mapping, and Pepper's ghost. And I also liked that the Imagineers brought back the April through December portrait and added a statue of the one-eyed black cat a couple years ago. Plus, I think the Grim Grinning Ghost song, which I first heard on the Disneyland Fun sing-along video, is such a spooktacular Disney Halloween song. Also to note, I like that during this time of year, Jack Skellington and his friends from Halloween Town turned the ride into the Haunted Mansion Holiday, which I still stand by is very creative, due to how it combines Christmas and Halloween together. Also to note, about 4 years ago, I blogged the Haunted Mansion movie from 2003, which starred the likes of Eddie Murphy, Marsha Thompson, Terrence Stamp, Jennifer Tilly, Wallace Shawn, and Nathaniel Parker. And while I found it to be a pretty decent film adaptation, nowadays I don't like it as much as I used to, due to a few cringe-worthy humor, and the story kind of feeling like it should have been done for the Phantom Manor. However, this wouldn't be the only time where Disney made a film based on the ride. You see, a couple years ago, during fall 2021, the Muppets did their own version of the Haunted Mansion, and in my opinion, it was a fun Disney Plus special, and I also found it to be pretty clever and creative on how Kermit the Frog and his friends can bring a Disney attraction to life in their own comedic way. Kind of like what they did with A Christmas Carol, Treasure Island, and The Wizard of Oz. However, it is also very sad that the special was one of Ed Asner's final acting works before he passed away. Anyway, to conclude this year's Nightmare Month, I'll be blogging the third and latest Haunted Mansion film adaptation and see what I think about it. Released on July 28th, 2023, the movie is Haunted Mansion. And now, on for the plot of the movie. Eager to make a fresh start, single mom Gabby and her young son Travis move into the Gracie Manor, a creepy antebellum mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana, only to discover that the house is inhabited by 999 ghosts. Desperate for help, they hire a tour guide, a psychic, a priest, and a historian. However, once entering the mansion, there appears to be no way out, and the halls twist, the doors disappear, and the spirits, led by the evil Hatbox Ghost,
play on the residents' fears and strike when they least expect it, in order to add another to their list. With help from Madame Leota, the group must find a way to end the Hatbox Ghost's wrath and escape the mansion alive. So, what are my thoughts on the movie? Well, out of all three Haunted Mansion film adaptations, this has got to be the absolute best out of all of them. On a scale from 3 to 1, it would be Muppets Haunted Mansion at 3, The Haunted Mansion 2003 at 2, and Haunted Mansion 2023 at the very top. Despite the fact that it was sadly outgrossed by Barbie and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. But anyway, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, in July 2010, it was announced that a reboot adaptation based on the Haunted Mansion was in development for Walt Disney Pictures with Guillermo del Toro as writer and producer. Del Toro stated that the project would not take place in a real-world setting, but in a heightened reality. He revealed that the Hatbox Ghost would be one of the main characters, and he said that the film would be scary and fun at the same time, but the scary will be scary. In June 2011, Walt Disney World Imagineer Jason Sorrell was brought onto the project as a creative consultant. In August 2012, Del Toro submitted the final draft of his script to Walt Disney Studios, intended for a PG-13 rating. Unfortunately, by July 2013, Del Toro announced that he was no longer the project director, but he still remained as co-writer and executive producer. After years of development hell, Disney officially announced Haunted Mansion in August 2020, with Katie Dippold signed on to write a new screenplay for the film after it was decided that Del Toro's script was too scary for family audiences, and Dan Lin and Jonathan Erich were hired as producers. By April 2021, Justin Simien entered early negotiations to direct the movie and was officially confirmed by July 2021. Brian Cogman, Guillermo del Toro, DVD Vincentis, Micah Fitzgerman Blue, Noah Harpster, Justin Haith, Jeff Nathanson, Matthew Robbins, Justin Simien, Stephen Thompson, and Chris Weitz wrote additional literal material for the film. In a behind the features featurette, production designer Derek Guilford revealed that the crew had an after-hours tour of the actual Haunted Mansion ride at Walt Disney World. The crew then pulled details from the ride to the sets. Principal photography ran from October 4th, 2021 to late February 2022 in New Orleans, Louisiana and Atlanta, Georgia. Production also occurred at Trillet Studios, and the visual effects were handled by DNEG and Industrial Light and Magic. Now, before we move on, I just want to mention that I actually saw this movie in theaters 3 times. Why? Well, after my first viewing with a couple friends during the weekend of late July, several job coaches and clients from Vocational Visions, whom I was paired up with, wanted to see the movie too. So, I guess I had no choice but to roll with it, even though I didn't mind seeing it again. Anyway, the thing that I liked about this film adaptation was that, compared to the 2003 film or the Muppets version, I like that it shows more of New Orleans, which I visited back in summer 1998 and December 2015. Plus, I like that this movie includes references from both California and Florida mansions. For example, the main mansion, Gracie Manor, is based off the California version, while Crump Manor, which is located in northern Louisiana, is based off the Florida version. By the way, to this day, I am pretty disappointed that I never got the chance to experience the Magic Kingdom Mansion, because during my trip back in December 2014 with YMCA's New Horizons, the mansion was sadly closed for refurbishment reasons, which to me was very bad timing. Anyway, back to the Easter eggs. I like that this movie's version of Gracie Manor includes the ride's pre-show room, aka the stretching room, which serves as a massive living room / drawing room that the main characters use as a safe spot away from the rest of the mansion's paranormal activities after midnight. However, when they discovered the Hatbox Ghost's identity of Alistair Crump and planned to set out for Crump Manor to retrieve his hat for a banishing spell, the latter tries to seal them in, only managing to trap Ben Mathias and Travis, as the duo find that the now doorless and windowless room is stretching and that the dynamite, quicksand, and gator-filled river have taken over the floor. The ghosts in the paintings, Sally Slater, Alexander Nitrokoff, the Quicksand Men, and Abigail Pantercleaver help them escape by instructing them to climb onto the gargoyles and onto the skylight windows, which is disguised as a false ceiling. It also features the Florida version's library with the staring busts, the Werecat painting and the Black Prince painting, the endless hallway, the corridor of doors, and the 13-hour grandfather clock. There's also the April through December portrait, which is used as a secret passageway to Madame Leota's seance room, which includes the hidden Donald Duck chair and a reference to the ride's doom buggies. There's also the ballroom, which includes the dancing ghost, Pickwick, the chandelier ghost, the birthday ghost, and Victor Geist, the organist, who plays Captain Nemo's organ. There's also the attic, which is guarded by Constance Hatchaway, the very character whom Animat fears the most, whom in the ride was voiced by Kat Cressida, aka Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory. And there's the graveyard, which features Silas Crump the caretaker and his dog in ghost form, along with the legendary hitchhiking ghosts and the specters. Plus, the movie also includes the haunted trees, the graves with comical puns, and the endless staircase, which is also found in Florida. And like 2015's Tomorrowland, this movie also includes a reference from It's a Small World, which I must remind everybody will be made into a movie soon with John Turteltaub directing and Jared Stern writing. Also to note, this film includes many other characters from the ride. Aside from the ones that I've already mentioned, there's also the Haunted Armor, the Hatchet Man, the Duelists, the Mummy, the Beheaded Knight, the Executioner, Harriet the Opera Singer, and the Mariner, who plays the role of Ben Mathias' hitchhiking ghost, having followed him home from his initial dismissive investigation of the house, locking his television onto broadcast of Deadliest Catch, and flooding his house in order to force him back to the mansion. Plus, he later helps Ben, Kent, and Travis find the Hatbox Ghost hat at Crump Manor. As for the story, well, I thought it was pretty clever on how it ties the rides together, and I thought it made a thrilling and interesting mystery film. Plus, to me, the plot device needed to defeat the main antagonist kind of felt reminiscent to a similar plot from the Tower of Terror movie, and I think the film's ending is a lot better than the 2003 film, because Walt Disney pictured the ride as a retirement home for ghosts, hence why the ghosts remain in the mansion. And that's basically all I got for Mustang notes. So, let's move on to the film's cast. Let's start with Ben Mathias, played by Lakeith Stanfield, whom I remember from the 2014 Martin Luther King film, Selma. Ben is a scruffy and unkempt man who was once an engineer working on a camera that could perceive paranormal activity. But after his wife Alyssa tragically died in a car accident, his life fell to pieces. Nowadays, Ben works as a unenthusiastic ghost tour guide in the French Quarter of New Orleans who no longer believes in the paranormal. In my eyes, Ben has got to be one of the most sympathetic and memorable characters in this movie, and I really feel bad for his tragic loss. Plus, I think it's cool that he's an astrophysicist trying to prove the existence of something unnatural, which kind of makes him pretty similar to Jane Foster from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also, I think Ben makes a good father figure while bonding with Travis. Also to note, Ben is Lakeith Stanfield's first role in a Disney film. Next is Gabby, played by Rosario Dawson, whom was Artemis in the 2009 Wonder Woman movie. She voiced Diana in several other animated DC films and Space Jam: A New Legacy. She was in the fifth and final Tinkerbell film, Legend of the Never Beast, along with Zombieland Double Tap and the Ahsoka series. Now, Gabby is a former doctor and a single mother who, along with her son Travis, moved from New York to New Orleans after the tragic death of her husband. They purchased the mansion in the bayou in hopes to turn it to a bed and breakfast, only to find out that it's haunted. What I like about Gabby is that she shows passion and integrity through good intentions for her son. Speaking of which, next is her son Travis, played by Chase W. Dillon. To me, Travis is another sympathetic character due to the fact that he has trouble making friends at school. He's constantly being picked on by bullies, hence why he was being chased home in one scene. And the fact that he can't seem to get over the loss of his father. As for the other characters, we have Father Kent, played by Owen Wilson, who was in the first three Night at the Museum films, Pixar's Car trilogy, Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox, 2017's Wonder, and the MCU's Loki series. Now, Kent is the first person whom Gabby encounters when she discovers that the house where she and her son moved to is haunted. True to his name, he's often seen wearing a cross around his neck, hence his duty as a clergyman, often showing a casual approach to matters of faith, especially when it comes to the challenges inside the mansion. However, it's later revealed that Kent is a con artist who works at a Halloween costume store and pretends to be a priest in order to make money off faked exorcisms. Later, after defeating Crump, Kent undergoes ornament to become a real priest. By the way, one of my favorite scenes involving Kent was when he manages to convince the ghosts whom were chasing him to turn on Crump and join forces with them. Next up we have Harriet, played by Tiffany Haddish. Harriet is a psychic who lives in the French Quarter neighborhood in New Orleans, and she uses supernatural powers. Throughout the movie, Harriet is shown to use the powers of seance, often trying to communicate with the spirits who haunt the mansion, such as Madame Leota. Fun fact, I kind of get the feeling that Harriet shares the name with the opera singing ghost of the same name, and that she's named after the late Disney Imagineer Harriet Burns. The last member of the group is Bruce Davis, played by Danny DeVito, whom was in the 1986 My Little Pony movie, along with Space Jam, 1996's Matilda, Disney's Hercules, Illumination's The Lorax, Animal Crackers, Smallfoot, the one and only Ivan, Tim Burton's Mars Attacks, and Dumbo, and he'll be voicing in Illumination's upcoming animated film, Migration, this holiday season. Bruce is a professor who works at Tulane University, often showing a gruff but rather cantankerous personality. He studies supernatural incidents, and he's been obsessed with unraveling the mysteries of the legendary Haunted Mansion, leading to him being approached by Ben Mathias and Father Kent, asking for history on the house, near the time when Bruce was set to have heart surgery. Later, after his materials on the house were stolen, Bruce joins the group and assists them in solving the haunting. After Ben was able to make a recreation of the Hatbox Ghost's face, Bruce presents his identity as the evil oculist Alistair Crump. Fun fact, Bruce is named after the late Disney Imagineer Mark Davis, who did concept art for the original Haunted Mansion attraction. Next we come to Master William Gracie, played by J.R. Adducci. Like Edward Gracie from the 2003 movie, Master Gracie's name is a tribute to Imagineer Yale Gracie. Back when he was alive, William was a wealthy socialite who purchased Gracie Manor to settle with his wife Eleanor. When she sadly died from yellow fever, William became inconsolable and hired the famed medium Madame Leota to try and summon her ghost. Instead, he was contacted by the Hatbox Ghost, who was posing as his wife and drove him to suicide by an arsenic as part of a ritual. Since then, Gracie became a ghost who wanders the mansion with a lantern searching for Eleanor's spirit. While he doesn't have a big role in this movie, I like the scenes where Gracie's ghost was summoned by Harriet, whom he advised to contact Madame Leota. Later, Gracie was found by Ben Mathias as part of their reverse seance, where he gave some information about the Hatbox Ghost's nature. And during the film's climax, Gracie aids in helping Ben reach Travis, revealing that he traverses within the ghost dimension via an M.C. Etchner-inspired hallway. Our next character is the mysterious Madame Leota, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, best known from the Halloween film series, the 2003 Freaky Friday movie, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Island of Misfit Toys. Now, as I previously stated back in 2019, Madame Leota was a psychic, voiced by Eleanor Audley, who appears in a dark seance room in the ride and summons spirits while musical instruments and furniture levitate around her. Plus, her face and name are a tribute to Disney Imagineer Leota Toombs. In my opinion, Leota is one of the most recognizable and memorable Haunted Mansion characters in this movie, and I think Jamie Lee Curtis does a fantastic job playing her. Plus, I think Leota is a great supporting character while instructing Harriet on assembling the materials needed to perform a banishing spell strong enough to trap the Hatbox Ghost. And I thought her backstory of when she was alive and how she became trapped in her crystal ball was actually pretty interesting. Finally, we come to the film's main villain, Alistair Crump, aka the Hatbox Ghost, played by Jared Leto, whom was in Fight Club, the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, and Marvel's Morbius. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with this guy, the Hatbox Ghost was a character whom was removed from the attraction shortly after it opened in 1969 due to its vanishing head not working out as planned. But then, after 46 years, he officially returned to the ride on May 9th, 2015 as part of Disneyland's 60th anniversary. Ever since then, the Hatbox Ghost has been located at the end of the attic scene, and he lets out an evil chuckle before his head switches places through the use of rear projected face technology. In the movie, the Hatbox Ghost is revealed to be the murderous Alistair Crump, whom, like the caretaker, is named after Disney Imagineer and animator Rolly Crump, who sadly passed away back in March. In life, Alistair Crump was the son of an overbearing wealthy socialite who lived in a Dutch colonial revival Gothic manor. During his youth, after the death of his mother, his father disowned him for being too emotional, and he was treated as an outcast by other socialites. And while traveling the world, learning about mysticism and dark arts, Alistair worked his way to rise up the ranks, and upon reaching adulthood, he became a renowned wealthy tycoon. Years later, after his father passed away, Alistair regained his family manor and became a vengeful person, inviting socialites who betrayed him to lavish parties, which all ended with him murdering the guests in horrifying ways in order to maintain his wealth and power. However, sometime later, Alistair vowed revenge from beyond the grave before getting beheaded by his staff. Afterwards, Alistair's vengeful spirit, now in the form of the Hatbox Ghost, was accidentally invited into William Gracie's mansion during a seance held by Madame Leota to contact Gracie's deceased wife. Alistair impersonated Eleanor and convinced Gracie to commit suicide in order to join her. After imprisoning Madame Leota in her crystal ball, Crump then took complete control by forcing the other ghosts to obey him, and he used the mansion as a means to harvest souls for a ritual, which, upon obtaining 1,000 souls, would unbind him and enable him to wreak his vengeance upon the realm of the living. In my opinion, Crump was a way better villain than Ramsley from the 2003 film. Not only because he's a character from the Disneyland ride, but he's also cruel, menacing, manipulative, and of course, scary. Plus, his ability to possess the living, like he did to Bruce Davis, was very bone-chilling, and the parts where he references the Ghost Host and Little Leota were pretty clever. Plus, a couple days ago, one of my friends pointed out that my portrayal of Jacob Marley, whom I'll be reprising as this holiday season at Musical Theater Village, looks almost exactly like the Hatbox Ghost, minus the chains. Also to note, for a few months now, I've been hearing news that the Hatbox Ghost will be added to the Magic Kingdom's Haunted Mansion and will be located next to the Endless Hallway this coming November. And now on to my final words. Overall, the 2023 Haunted Mansion movie is a fantastic and spooktacular movie, and it's got to be one of my favorite films of 2023. It has great cinematography, the visuals are bone-chilling and amazing, the story is a major improvement over the 2003 film, and it makes a very thrilling mystery film. Plus, I like how it references both the California and Florida mansions. The main characters range from sympathetic to memorable to interesting to humorous. Most of the ghosts in the movie range from cool to nostalgic. Madame Leota was a great supporting character, and Alistair Crump, the Hatbox Ghost, was a very thrilling and menacing villain. Now, despite the fact that the movie bombed at the box office during its theatrical release, like Hocus Pocus and The Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm sure this movie can gain a Halloween cult following. And I definitely recommend everybody to check this movie out, whether you're a fan of Disney, the original Disneyland ride, or if you just want to sit back and watch something that's worthy for the Halloween season. But I wouldn't recommend it for kids under the age of 13 to watch it on their own though. As for my rating, I'll give it the highest rating of 100%. Now, before I go, I want to give everybody a heads up that starting in January 2024, Disneyland's Haunted Mansion will receive an expansion to their outdoor queue, and a new retail shop will be added near the ride's exit. And to me, that's definitely something worth looking forward to as soon as they're completely built. And I also hope that sooner or later, Disney will take me in as one of their cast members or voice actors, because that would definitely be cool. Well, anyway, that's all for now. Be sure to join me in November for my next blog, Mustang Power. Oh, and happy Halloween.
Hurry back! Hurry back!